Story 1. The Phantom Hitchhiker. Mile 237. The highway was empty. Just me, the hum of the engine, and miles of dead night stretching in both directions. I was hauling steel beams through the Nevada desert, running solo, eastbound on 50. Locals call it the loneliest road in America. And that night, it earned the name. Midnight passed hours ago. My log was good, coffee hot, music low, nothing unusual. Until I passed mile marker 237. There, on the shoulder, stood a figure, a hitchhiker, which was odd. Not because people don't walk this road they do, but because there was nothing for 50 miles in either direction. No towns, no gas stations, just dust and stars. I slowed down, not sure why. Instinct, maybe? Guilt. He looked young, slim, wore a weathered army jacket, hood up, head low. I pulled over, killed the engine, cracked the window. "You all right out here?" I asked. He didn't answer right away, just looked up slowly and smiled. It wasn't friendly. It wasn't hostile either. Just wrong. Like he was trying to remember how smiles work. Then he spoke. Voice smooth. Too smooth. Like it'd been ironed flat. "Could use a ride. Just a few exits." I hesitated. Something in my gut said no. But the road was quiet, and I've seen enough cold, hungry nights to know when someone's desperate. "Hop in," I said. He climbed in silently. No bags, no phone. Sat in the passenger seat, folded his hands in his lap like he was praying. For the first 10 minutes, we drove in silence. Then, without turning, he asked, "You ever seen someone on the road who wasn't there?" I glanced at him. "Like a ghost?" He chuckled. But it was dry, like paper tearing. "I see them all the time. They stand where they died. Accidents, fires, vanishings. Sometimes they just want to talk. Other times, they're waiting to switch places." My fingers tightened on the wheel. I didn't reply. We drove another mile in silence. Then he said, "You passed one back there. Didn't even see her." "Who?" He smiled again, wider this time. "You'll meet her soon enough." And that's when the lights on my dash cut out. The dash lights flickered once, then died. No speedometer, no fuel readout, just the hum of the engine and the empty black around us. I tapped the panel, nothing. Radio dead, GPS screen flatlined, but the headlights still worked. For now. "Damn wiring," I muttered, more to myself than anything. My passenger didn't move. Didn't ask what was wrong. He just stared forward, hands still folded, his jacket sleeve slightly wet at the cuff. "You sure you only need a few exits?" I asked. He didn't answer, but a moment later, he spoke slow, quiet. "You ever think maybe roads aren't built just to take us somewhere, but to bring something back?" I said nothing. Didn't like the way he said "bring something back," like he was quoting it from somewhere. Or worse, remembering it. I glanced at him. His jacket had a patch, but it wasn't a flag. It was a circle of barbed wire, stitched in faded red. No branch, no name, not military, not anything I recognized. We passed mile 240. A shape appeared in the headlights, something in the road. I hit the brakes. We slowed just in time to swerve around a twisted deer carcass. Legs contorted, body steaming. Except there was no blood, no wounds, just blackened skin and burned eyes. My passenger didn't flinch, didn't blink. "She's close now," he whispered. I didn't ask who, because I saw her. Just ahead on the shoulder was a woman, standing. Long black hair, white shirt soaked at the sleeves. She didn't wave, didn't move, but her head turned exactly as we passed, tracking me. Eyes too wide, too bright. And then she was gone. No reflection in the mirrors, no trace behind. I looked to the passenger seat. Empty. He was gone. No sound, no opening of the door, just missing. But something was left on the seat. A single scorched photograph. It showed my truck, burned out, crashed, on fire. And behind the shattered windshield, me. Mouth open, screaming. I slammed the brakes. The truck groaned as the wheels locked up on the shoulder. Dust surged past the windshield like smoke. I sat there in the dark, panting, clutching the photo in one hand. It was still warm. The image hadn't changed. My truck wrecked, surrounded by flame. My face frozen in agony behind broken glass. It looked like a scene from the future, a warning, or a promise. I opened the door and climbed out, boots crunching on gravel. The desert was silent. No wind, no bugs, not even engine noise. Like the world had pressed pause. I checked under the truck. Cab, tires, undercarriage, no one. I climbed back into the cab, shut the door, and forced the truck into gear. My hands trembled on the wheel, sweat gathering under my collar. I needed to get to the next truck stop, find lights, find people, find something real. 10 miles passed, then 15. Just when I started to think I was alone again, I heard it breathing. From behind the seat. Not loud, not panting, just slow, steady inhales. Wet, like someone with lungs full of water. I turned the rearview mirror. Nothing there. But the breathing continued, and with it a smell. Burnt cloth, hot plastic, and the faint sting of hospital antiseptic. I flicked the dome light on. Still nothing. Then I looked down at the passenger seat. The photograph was gone. In its place, a blackened driver's license. The name on it was mine. The picture was mine. But the eyes in the photo had been burned out, like someone had seared through them with a lighter, and scrawled on the back, in oily red ink, "She's not looking for help, she's looking for a driver." I don't remember pulling off the highway. One blink, and I was already on a narrow service road. No signs, no lines. Just dirt and glass scattered across cracked asphalt. The kind of road that isn't on any map but always ends up beneath your tires when it's already too late. The moon was gone. The stars, too. Just the cone of my headlights slicing through the black. The breathing behind me had stopped. But the silence was worse, because silence has weight, and I could feel it pressing down on the back of my neck. Then, the radio turned on. I hadn't touched it, no music, just a low, broken voice warped by static. "She rides behind, until you let her in front." I turned it off. It turned itself back on. "We don't crash. We remember too fast." I yanked the radio cord clean out of the dash. The static died, but the words didn't. They kept playing without the radio, coming from the speakers themselves. The engine, the air vents, her voice dry and cracking, like lungs filled with ash. I checked the mirror. She was in the passenger seat again, just sitting there. Soaked shirt, skin peeling, mouth stitched shut but moving, saying something silently. She reached out and pointed forward. Through the windshield, far down the dirt road, I saw it. A flickering motel sign, half lit. Red neon stammering out, "Rest, stay, empty." As I stared, the lights on my dashboard blinked back to life. But all the readings were wrong. Fuel, Wootwo Kuyongtu. Odometer, 0 speed now. And one line, blinking in red letters, "Turn back to continue." But I couldn't turn back. There was no road behind me anymore. Just her hand, now resting gently on my shoulder. I pulled into the lot. The gravel crunched wrong beneath my tires like I was driving over bone chips. The neon sign buzzed louder the closer I got, almost like it was speaking in code. Rest day. Only one letter never blinked. E. It glowed solid. Red. Watching. The building was small, maybe 6 rooms. All dark. Except one. Room 4. Its door stood half open, swaying gently like it had been waiting for me to notice. I turned to look at her. The passenger seat was empty again, but the door was ajar. She'd gone inside. I should have left. I should have thrown the truck in reverse and gunned it until the wheels melted. But something inside me said, "You already parked. You already checked in." I stepped out. The night pressed down harder than the desert ever had, dense and warm, like breath behind your ears. The air reeked of scorched linen and expired air freshener. I walked toward room 4. No sound, no wind. But every room I passed had scratches on the doors. Deep, layered, carved in with desperation like someone had tried to claw their way back out. I reached for the knob. It was warm, slick. Inside, one bed, one sink, one mirror, and her. Sitting on the bed, hair covering her face, hands folded in her lap. I stepped in, barely breathing. "What do you want from me?" I asked. She lifted her head. Slowly, her eyes were gone. Just holes, charred around the sockets, filled with moving light like headlights from a crash that never stopped. Her stitched mouth opened anyway. "You drove past me, again and again, until I found a way to get in." I backed up. "You were never real." She stood. "Neither are you now." I turned to run, but the door was gone. So were the walls. I stood in the middle of the highway again. Only this time, I was the one standing on the shoulder. Thumb out, watching my own truck pass me by. No headlights, no driver. Just flame pouring out the cab, and inside it, her, smiling. I watched my own rig disappear down the blacktop. No driver, no sound. Just fire licking at the taillights, swallowing everything that used to be me. The heat didn't touch me, the cold did. Because I was no longer moving. I stood barefoot on the shoulder, clothes soaked in someone else's memory. Thumb extended in a reflex I didn't remember learning. And for a long, still moment, I felt it. This was the place she died. Not in a crash, not in fire. In the forgetting. Left too long on the roadside. Passed too many times. Eyes met, then looked away. Again, and again, and again. Now she rides with those who don't remember, until they do. Behind me, the air shimmered. A soft engine hum grew louder. Another truck. Same model, same trailer. Slowed. Stopped. I saw the driver lean out. Same face. Mine. He didn't speak, didn't wave. Just watched me. Eyes hollow and glowing red like taillights reversed. Then he said, "There's always room for another." And I understood. I'd been replaced. I'd been delivered. And she? She was the driver now. She would keep driving until someone else stopped, until someone else looked too long at a figure by the road and thought, maybe I should pull over. Story 2. Midnight radio night runs were my thing. No traffic, no way stations open. Just me, my rig, the hum of diesel, and the stars that never blink. That particular night, I was cutting through northern Arizona on I-40, a flat, endless stretch of road, 2-lane blacktop slicing through the desert like a scar. Around 2:30 a.m., I lost signal. Not phone, I don't use it much on the road. Radio, my usual station faded out, swallowed by static. I scanned manually. Nothing but white noise. Mexican AM, or gospel. Then, at 97.1, I heard something strange. A low hum, then a click, then a voice. Male, calm, unnaturally clear, like it wasn't broadcasting, more like he was sitting right behind me. "Welcome back, driver. Another long night out there. Don't worry, we're with you now." I froze. The voice was smooth, quiet, not pre-recorded. Live. I turned the volume down, waited. Silence. Then, "You can turn it down, but you can't tune us out." I turned it off. Didn't help. The voice kept playing faintly through the speakers, even with the system powered down. That voice? It didn't sound threatening. Not exactly, but it knew me. "Route 40 eastbound. Solo driver. Coffee thermos on the dash. You've been awake for 18 hours. I swerved to the shoulder and killed the engine. Everything stopped. Except him. Smart. Parked between mile markers 163 and 164. No cameras, no reception. You're listening now. I opened the door. The air was cold. Desert cold. Dead quiet. No other cars. The voice faded. I sat on the hood of my truck, eyes on the stars. Nothing but silence and the low ping of a cooling engine. I thought maybe I was tired, maybe hallucinating, until I looked at my radio antenna. It was bent, and something was wrapped around the base. A red wire. Tied like a noose. I didn't sleep. Just sat in the cab with the engine off, door cracked, staring out at the desert until sunrise bleached the sky bone white. The wire on the antenna was real. Old, frayed, coated in something sticky. I tossed it, straightened the antenna, and convinced myself it had all been static tricks. Sleep deprivation, isolation, echoes of engine noise bouncing around in my skull. By noon, I was hauling again. Flatbed loaded, GPS humming. The radio stayed off. For a while. But somewhere near Holbrook, around 3 p.m., the speakers crackled by themselves. The screen stayed dark, but a voice slipped through anyway. Still running, huh? That's okay. We're not in a hurry, you'll stop again. I turned the system on and started scanning. Same dead channels. But now, 97.1 wasn't static anymore. Now it was me. Flatbed loaded, GPS humming, the radio stayed off. Word for word what I had just thought, not said. Then came a different voice. Higher. Female. Calmer. He's remembering now. Let him remember. That's how it starts. I slammed the radio off again. Didn't matter. Because now, it was playing in other places. When I turned on the AC, their voices hissed from the vents. When I filled up at a gas station, the pump display glitched, blinking, "Welcome back, Driver." The worst came at dusk. I passed a rusted-out car on the shoulder, windows shattered, doors gone. Inside, a broken dashboard with an old radio melted knobs, crushed speaker grill. Still playing. Still tuned to 97.1. I slowed, looked closer, and saw my name etched into the cracked windshield, right where the driver's head would have been. I didn't touch the brakes. Didn't stop. Just stared at that windshield as the truck rolled past. My name first and last, carved in shaky, scorched lines. The kind of etching you'd make with a knife, or glass, or a nail. I drove until the sun dipped below the horizon, shadows stretching across the road like arms. Still no music, still no signal. But at 7:00 p.m. sharp, the dashboard display lit up. Now playing your route. And the speakers clicked on. I didn't touch a thing. At first, it was just engine noise. Low rumbling, too slow to be real. Then the sound of breathing. Shallow, wet, paced with mine. Then my own voice again. From earlier that day. Didn't sleep, just sat in the cab with the engine off. But as the playback continued, something was wrong. The voice started to drift. Thought maybe I was tired, maybe hallucinating. Maybe it wasn't even my truck at all. I never said that, but now the voice sounded more confident, more sure than I'd ever been. "You've done this run before. This is the night it happens." My skin went cold. Then came a sound I hadn't heard since childhood. A woman humming, a lullaby. I slammed the radio power switch, yanked the fuse box open, killed every line, feeding the audio. Silence. But when I opened my glove box, a cassette tape was inside. No label, just red marker across the front. Forgot this last time. I stared at it for a long time. Didn't remember owning a tape deck, but I looked down. The truck now had one. I don't remember touching the tape, but it was in my hand. Warm, like it had just been recorded. The label stared up at me, forgot this last time. My truck shouldn't even have a cassette deck. I knew every inch of this cab. But there it was now, center console, matte black, already waiting. I slid the tape in. Click. The hiss of tape rolling. Then, my voice. "You've been down this road before." Not a recording, not a memory, a message to myself. "You didn't make it to the end last time. You swerved at mile marker 214, hit the median, burned." I froze. "But we liked how you screamed. So we brought you back. One more ride. One more night." The cab lights dimmed. The horizon outside turned red, not sunset red, furnace red. The road started to change. White lines faded. Signs disappeared. Mile markers warped, unreadable. And up ahead, was another truck. Same model, same make, same color. It drove exactly my speed. Mirrors tilted. Door marked with a symbol I'd never seen before, like an open mouth full of antennae. I passed it, looked inside. The cab was on fire, and the man behind the wheel, me, burned, screaming, still gripping the wheel. I blinked, and it was gone. No smoke, no flames. Just my reflection in the windshield, staring back. But my reflection was still screaming, and the cassette kept rolling. "This is the broadcast, driver. You are the signal. You're just picking up where you left off." I yanked the tape out. It kept playing. The tape deck had no eject button anymore. Just a single word etched in place. Stay. I turned off the ignition. The engine kept running. The headlights began flickering in Morse code. I don't know Morse, but I felt what it meant. Do not exit. Do not exit. Do not exit. My hands wouldn't leave the wheel. They felt welded to it. The dashboard lit up again, but instead of speed, RPM, or fuel, it showed audio levels. Mic gain, feedback loop, delay. Then came the voice again, but not through the speakers this time, from the CB. "Breaker, breaker, you're live on the air." Tonight's special broadcast, a return performance by our favorite road soul. I reached for the mic to respond, but it picked up my breath before I spoke. And then it said it for me. "Who's doing this to me?" The radio replied in my own voice. "You did. You always tune in eventually. You always try to change the channel right before mile 214. The lights on the dashboard blinked. One by one, the needles fell to 0. Outside the windshield, the road opened ahead like a mouth, black and endless. Then I saw it again. The other truck pulled over at mile marker 214. Door open, flames licking the ground beneath it, and someone stumbling out. A man, me, but not burned, not screaming, begging, hands up, face wet with blood. He looked right at me and said, without moving his mouth, "Don't let me get in." I hit the brakes, but the truck sped up. I fought the wheel with everything I had. Tendons burned, fingers cramped, but the truck didn't slow, didn't swerve. It just kept barreling toward mile marker 214, like the GPS had been carved into bone. Outside, the other version of me was still on the shoulder, stumbling, limping, mouthing something I couldn't hear anymore. But I saw the panic in his eyes, the understanding. He remembered how this ends, and I didn't. Not fully. Not yet. Then the voice returned, calm, static-filled. "You're not listening. You're remembering. That's why the signal's so clear tonight," I screamed, out loud. But the CB picked it up first, translated it back to me. I give myself permission, and with that, I lost the wheel. The truck turned on its own, gently guiding itself into the breakdown lane. The lights dimmed, the dashboard screen flickered once more. "Welcome back, broadcaster." And for the first time I saw the truth. There was no receiver. I was the signal. Looping, retelling, replaying. Every time a driver tunes to 97.1, they're not listening to a station. They're tuning into me. And now, I sit behind the mic, somewhere between the white lines, in the deep places where road and memory blur, waiting for another rig to roll past. Waiting for the dial to spin just right. Waiting to say, "Breaker, breaker, you're not lost. You're just on repeat." Story 3. The rest stop. It started with a sound I knew too well. Metal on metal, then a hard pop. Front axle gave out just past midnight, somewhere in rural Mississippi. I was running a long haul for a refrigerated load, headed east on 84. No towns for 30 miles, no lights on the horizon. Just cornfields, dark trees, and one failing truck. I coasted as far as I could before the steering locked up. Pulled onto a narrow off-ramp I swear wasn't on the map. No signs, no exit number, just a break in the guardrail and a faded strip of blacktop curling into the woods. But as I rounded the bend, I saw it. A gas station. Old, flickering overhead lights. No brand name. Just a crooked sign that read, Rest, Stay, Fill. A neon open glowed in the window, though the place looked abandoned. Paint peeling, door half-hinged, dust caked on the windows. I killed the engine, climbed down. Silence greeted me, not the quiet of peace, but the stillness of something watching. No insects, no wind. Even my boots on gravel felt too loud. The door creaked open on its own when I reached for the handle. Inside, the air was wet. Smelled like oil, old meat, and something worse, like a shed where something has died over and over. The clerk sat behind the counter. Or something shaped like a clerk. He was in full uniform blue jumpsuit, patch reading welcome. But he wasn't breathing, just sitting, head tilted, smiling, too wide. His skin was waxy, thin like plastic wrap pulled too tight over muscle, and his eyes were completely black. Still, but wet. Truck breakdown? He asked. His voice came half a second before his mouth moved. I stepped back. He smiled wider. Come in. We have a mechanic, and you look tired. I should have turned around, gotten back in the cab, limped the truck on 3 wheels until sunrise. But something about the place held me there. Not fear, not logic, just weight. Like the air was thicker inside the station, pressing into my ears, lungs, thoughts. The clerk didn't blink once. Mechanic's out back, he said. He'll fix you up. He slid a metal token across the counter, stamped with one word, stay. I didn't take it, but it was suddenly in my pocket anyway. I stepped outside. Behind the station was a low garage, rust-eaten siding, one roll-up door partially ajar. A yellow light pulsed faintly from inside, like something breathing behind frosted glass. I knocked. The door creaked open another inch. Hello? I called out. No answer. The smell hit me before I stepped in. Burned rubber, fermented oil, and something underneath. Sweet, almost fruity. Rotting fruit. The inside of the garage was a mess. Tools scattered, oil pooling, bones, actual bones, tossed casually into a red bucket near the back. And then I saw the truck. Mine. Already inside. Already jacked up, hood open. But I hadn't moved it, and I had the keys in my hand. There was someone under it. I heard the slow creak of a wrench. Metal on metal. I took one step closer, and a hand slid out from beneath the rig, long fingers, nails like roofing screws, glistening with something black and pulsing. Then a voice deeper than the clerk's and wet crawled up through the air. Don't look yet. We're not done building you. I backed away. Turned, ran for the door. The gas station was gone. Just trees, dark sky, silence. And my truck, still in the garage, but different now. The tires were wrong. Too thick, too organic. Something in the engine bay moved. I stumbled backward, heart pounding, lungs burning like I'd inhaled smoke, but there was no fire. Just the truck, sitting there in the bay, its frame groaning like old bones, its hood twitching. The engine wasn't an engine anymore. It pulsed, not with fuel but with breath. Thick hoses rose and fell like lungs. Oil dripped in time with a heartbeat that wasn't mine. And the worst part? The trailer door was open. I don't remember unlocking it. I don't remember stopping to look at it. But now it hung open, leaking condensation onto the cracked concrete floor. Thin, white mist curled out like the air inside was colder than it should have been. I stepped toward it. Each footfall sounded farther away, like I was moving into a tunnel, even though I hadn't left the garage. Inside the trailer, darkness, but not empty. A sound echoed back, faint, wet chewing. Then a sharp exhale like something sniffing. Me. I flicked on my flashlight. Dozens of shapes huddled in the far corner of the trailer, wrapped in plastic, stacked, not moving but aware. One of the bags shifted, and a hand human pressed against the inside of the plastic. Fingers twitched. mouth opened beneath the wrap, mouthing words. "Help me drive." I fell backward off the loading ramp. The trailer door slammed shut behind me, and when I turned to the cab, I saw the clerk, now in the driver's seat. Smiling, his black eyes looked at me through the windshield, unblinking. He raised one hand, waved. Then the truck started to move, by itself. It rumbled out of the garage, onto the dirt road, and vanished into the trees. I was left standing in the gravel, alone, but not for long, because I heard another truck engine, coming up the same unlisted exit, headlights cutting the dark. Another driver, another tired soul, looking for rest. The new truck rolled to a stop in the same gravel I'd stood in an hour ago, or a day, or a year. I couldn't tell anymore. Time didn't move here. It coiled. I watched the cab door open. A man stepped out. Late 40s. Tired eyes. Same slump I must have had when I first pulled in. He stretched his legs, rubbed his neck, muttered something to himself. Then he looked at me. Not surprised, not alarmed. Like he'd expected someone to be here, like he'd seen me in a dream. Just once. And couldn't remember if he woke up after. He walked past me without a word. Headed into the station. Except now, the station was whole again. Windows clean, lights bright, the open sign buzzed steady and warm, but the inside hadn't changed. Same warped counter. Same walls that breathed when you weren't looking. And now I stood behind the counter, not by choice. My legs wouldn't move. My mouth opened on its own, and I heard myself say, "Welcome in. You look tired." The man blinked, then stepped forward. As he did, something shifted in the air between us like a weight had been passed hand to hand. Like a shift change. A door creaked open behind me. I turned. A hallway now extended deeper than it should, walls lined with photos of drivers. Their faces blurred, some scratched out entirely, some identical to mine. A low, wet sound echoed from the far end, tools on flesh, metal tightening over bone. The clerk, the one who had greeted me, stepped out of the hallway. Only now, his face was blank. His uniform hung empty, folded over the shape of a body that was no longer human. He nodded to me, then vanished. And just like that, I knew. This place never needed gas, never needed money. Only drivers. One to fix the truck, one to greet the next, and a trailer to fill. My hands trembled, because behind the station, I could hear my truck coming back. The engine rumbled before I saw the headlights. Low and slow, like an animal growling as it crept home. The trees parted as my truck rolled back into the lot. But it wasn't mine anymore. Not really. The cab windows were pitch black, too dark to see through. And the license plate was gone, replaced by a single word carved into rusted steel: cargo. It pulled to a stop by the pump. Door opened. Steam hissed from the vents. Fluid dripped from the undercarriage, thick and dark and warm. No one stepped out. But I felt something climb into me. Like my chest got heavier, like someone else was now looking out through my eyes. Behind me, the other driver, the one who just arrived, stepped back outside, holding a soda. He froze. The truck turned toward him, not rolled, turned. Its wheels pivoted wrong like knees bending backward. Its headlights narrowed, and I knew what I had to say. "She's ready for loading." The driver didn't respond, just stood there, confused, until the trailer opened. Steam spilled out, thick and foul, and something whispered from inside. Not words, just the suggestion of language. Like a dead radio signal trying to speak through broken wires. The man stepped forward. One step, then another. Eyes wide. Not hypnotized, just tired. And when he climbed inside, the doors shut on their own. Click. The trailer was full again, and I could feel it, the road pulling me back. The wheels turned without hands. The rig rumbled toward the tree line. And somewhere inside me, something smiled. Because the next stop wasn't on the map, it was on the list. And I was the driver now. The highway ahead was wrong. No signs, no lines. Just blacktop that shimmered like oil in moonlight, stretching out into a sky that never brightened, no matter how far I drove. I gripped the wheel, only it wasn't leather anymore. It pulsed beneath my palms like flesh, warm and steady, a second heartbeat. The dashboard blinked awake, but there were no gauges. Only words, "You are in transit. Do not wake the cargo." Behind me, the trailer exhaled, slow, wet, like lungs trying to remember how to breathe. And from inside, something thumped. Once, twice, then settled. The CB radio crackled, not with chatter, with whispers, voices layered atop each other, saying the same phrase, "Next driver, next driver, next driver." I passed another rest stop. Not the same one, but it looked identical. Same crooked sign, same neon lie, rest, stay, fill. A man stood at the pump. Old, tired, lost. He turned as I passed. He had my face. I looked away. The windshield began to fog from the inside. And across the glass, the condensation formed a single shape. A map. Not of roads, of names. Names I knew, names I forgot, names I would pick up. And in the center of it all, pulsing softly, was one word: you. The steering wheel turned on its own, guiding me toward another ramp. Another station, another driver. The cycle continues. There is no final stop, no final mile. Only pickups, only drop-offs, only the cargo growing heavier, run after run. And somewhere, deep in the rig, I swear I heard someone whisper, "I used to be the driver too."